From our studios in New Orleans, Louisiana, welcome to Make It Fair's Week in Review. I'm Harmon Dash, along with Stuart Phillips, and what a week we have to go over. This is it's a bit much, don't you think?
Yeah, I want to put this in perspective. We have a wonderful intern. He's 18, and he's been working with us all summer. His name is Luca Barrett, and every morning I tell Luca, don't expect the rest of your life to be like this. This is a really incredibly unusually active political period in America.
Yeah, I mean, I say this week is got so much to cover, but every week in the Trump presidency has been pretty explosive. Is this week in particular, though, even more explosive than usual?
I think it is, but to put it in political perspective, I think you'd almost have to go back to Richard Nixon to come to something that is this explosive and this intense. Unfortunately, I'm 82 and I remember Nixon, and I remember how excited everybody was, but we didn't have this kind of communications.
Oh, you mean like social media, all the digital ways that we communicate
right.
now? Things were communicated in a bit of a slower fashion than we have now. It's kind of immediate.
Yeah, if you want to play the game, Nixon had more people in jail. Mm-hmm. Remember, his vice president was an admitted criminal before Trump's vice president is going to be found out to be one, and his attorney general went to jail.
Let's be fair. I mean, Nixon had a much longer time than we are at the Trump presidency.
That's
at
right.
this point. We're just past 6 months.
Exactly what I said. It may not be as bad yet, but it's compressed. Mm-hmm. Things happen faster in 2017 than they did in what was Nixon, 1960.
I mean, we're talking 50 years ago.
50 years ago. So we want to keep things in perspective. They're bad, and they're happening fast. They're not unique. We've been in trouble in the United States before. We're a strong nation, we're good people, and we're going to come out of this too.
All right, well, let's get to this week, starting with Monday when Donald Trump screwed the mooch. Anthony Scaramucci fired before his official start date, which I think was going to be August 15th. In conjunction with John Kelly taking over as Trump's new chief of staff.
Now remember, everyone wants to get in the records book. And Mr. Scaramucci got in the record book. He is the shortest acting communications director in all the presidencies.
Yeah, I think Kate Hudson actually sent a tweet in reference to one of her movies, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, talking about Scaramucci. 10 days and out he went. Why did this happen, though? Was he ever really supposed to be a long-term employee of the Trump administration?
We'll never know that, right? But I think rather than us dwell on what happened, I think it's better for us to dwell on why it happened.
All right, well, I mean, it is clear, regardless of how long he was supposed to last, that Scaramucci was instrumental in the ousting of the previous chief of staff, Ryan Priebus. So here comes a new guy, a guy who is with law and order, who wants a chain of command that is set. John Kelly, probably not comfortable with Scaramucci bragging how he has a direct line to the president.
But why did Trump pick the mooch? And my answer is he picked him because he had to. He couldn't get good people to work for him.
No one worthwhile will take a job with the Trump administration, you think?
Well, let's say not many, because certainly a lot of really good people have turned him down. And as more and more good people see the ship of state listing, more and more of them are going to be hesitant to join the group.
Well, so what about John Kelly? I mean, is he a worthwhile employee? Is it because he was already with the Trump administration?
Isn't that interesting? First off, Kelly's a general.
Mm-hmm.
Generals are different than other people. Okay, they came up with a really strong sense of community in the Army, and I think Kelly is a genuine patriot. On the other hand, he obviously cut a deal. He obviously told Trump he wouldn't take it if he didn't have command. And Trump was in such bind that he had to accept it.
Well, let me
So
ask
he
you this.
had to get rid of some of these people. Now, how long is Trump going to be able to go back to military school? Remember, what we read is true, and Trump, Daddy couldn't handle him, so he sent him to military school. Trump didn't do well early in military school, but at the end, evidently, he learned to get along with those guys. And then certainly that didn't last very long. And he wouldn't go to war, and he's a coward and a draft dodger. But that doesn't separate him from everyone else, right? I mean, Clinton didn't go to war, Bush didn't go to war.
Sure.
The days of hero George Washington are gone, man.
There is a concern, though, that because John Kelly does respect the chain of command as much as he does, that even if the president asks him to carry out something that is probably not in the best interest of all involved, that because it's his boss, he might do it anyway.
Yeah, well, Colin Powell did some really bad, stupid things.
Fair enough.
Generals are taught to obey, and we can only hope that doesn't last for a long period of time.
Okay. Now moving on, Jeff Sessions has directed his Department of Justice to go after some colleges regarding affirmative action, claiming some sort of reverse racism. We gave Jeff Sessions some credit here on this show a couple of weeks ago for abiding by the law regarding why he recused himself from the Russia investigation and, for not quitting his job, but even after several public humiliations at the hands of Donald Trump. But it seems like there may be a clear example here that maybe he didn't want to quit his job because there's an agenda that he would like to carry out, and he can't do that if he doesn't stay as the Attorney General.
Yeah, I think that's unquestionably the case. This is Jeff Sessions' dream job. He's wanted to strike back at all those liberals who wanted justice and fairness and kindness. He was brought up that being just and fair and kind is bad. You got to smash down those people because you're not terribly bright, and they are. And how else are you going to win? So, on the other hand, he's also had the idea that there was a rule of law. He is an attorney. He is trained in the law. And when the law was really against him, he went to it. So people are complicated, and there's no simple answer. Sessions will do whatever he can to hurt people, to help his tribe.
Within an interpretation of the law that's still legal.
But I don't think he'll break the law.
Okay.
So it will be interesting to see where he draws the line one way or the other. And I think he will stay within the law.
Okay. Well, so also this week, some phone calls that Donald Trump had early days of his presidency. The transcripts were leaked, one with Mexico's President Enrique Peña Nieto, and the other with Australia's Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull. What do we take from this? Who's leaking this stuff?
Isn't that interesting? The first thing it shows is that the ship of state is listing, and it's listing dangerously, and there are people that are ready to get off. And one, they're ready to get off. They're not going to have much more time to do it. And so they leak these old old for the
Months
Trump
old.
administration document. These are documents from the week of the
First week of
first
his
week,
right.
yeah.
Well, and both of these conversations, he basically said to both of these people, to President Nieto, Peña Nieto, and Malcolm Turnbull, that you're going to make me look bad if you make me have to do these things that are anti what I promised the American people. Well, why would it be their problem to help Trump make himself look good to the people that voted him in?
I think Trump thought that everyone thought it was their duty to make Trump look good. And what I'm astonished is that he didn't have a quid pro quid. A quid pro quo, excuse me. He wasn't a very good deal maker. All he said was, please help me. And he didn't say, let me help you. Most people act in their own self-interest. I'm absolutely certain if he'd offered those guys something big, they might have
come to the
they
table.
might have come to the table. But what he said is, don't do that, it'll make me look bad. And I think they just smiled.
Is that the content of The Art of the Deal?
I think what we're learning is that Trump didn't write that book. Someone else did. At least he doesn't seem to be very good at it. I'm not worth the amount of money Mr. Trump has made, but I've been in business all my life. I've made lots of deals. I've been able to make better deals than Trump. I've never had to go bankrupt. I've always been able to get along. I don't think Trump was very good. I think he was very lucky. And, luck's important, but that's what it looks like he had.
Well, so, of course, Trump loved leaks when they were hurting his opponent in the election, Hillary Clinton, but now these leaks are he would call them treasonous. But why are they leaking him? We've got a staff maybe that doesn't feel like they have job security with the new chief of staff in place, and they figure, what do they have to lose? Or maybe they are worried that what they perceive as Trump's incompetence is getting worse, and they got to do something about this. Why are they doing it?
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever know, but I think that all of the above are likely. I think there's some people in the administration who are generally worried that Trump is becoming more and more unhinged. Mm-hmm. I know there's bound to be people that are upset because they couldn't find a place in the administration. Mm-hmm. And what's becoming abundantly clear is that Trump's inability to form a close-knit unit.
Yeah, there's no cohesiveness, it seems.
There's no small unit cohesiveness in here. And if he can't do that, then the leaks will continue. And when he brings people in from the outside, if he doesn't have a central reason to keep his government in place, mm-hmm. and everyone is for themselves, then whenever there's a problem, the leaks will continue and he won't win. That will make him worse and worse and will unstabilize the government more and more. So it seems to me as though it's going to be very difficult for him to stabilize, to right this listing ship of state.
All right, well, up next, Robert Mueller, the special counsel for the investigation into Russia meddling, has expanded the investigation by impaneling a grand jury. So, Trump's critics say this move wouldn't have happened unless, the smoke is now producing fire. But his supporters are saying just because a grand jury is being put in place, that doesn't mean there's an indictment coming. His supporters are correct, but this does suggest that there's enough evidence to broaden the investigation, right?
Yeah, aren't you glad you're not one of Trump's supporters? Would you really have to look people in the eye and not smile and say, oh no, it isn't bad, when the special counsel has a grand jury that's looking into what you're doing? Of course it's bad. It's horrible. It couldn't be worse.
Well, so
and anyone who has to say, well, it didn't happen yet, is really grasping at straws. One of my favorite poems says, "The optimist fell 10 stories, and from each window bar he shouted, 'All right so far.'" And I think that's where they are. And at the bottom, there's bound to be a hard place to land.
Well, let's actually talk about those people that are trying to hang on for dear life to support Donald Trump. His incredible, hugely shrinking base. Rasmussen has been traditionally Trump's favorite poll. I think it's coincidental that it rhymes with Putin, but we'll go there another time. That poll has traditionally been most favorable to Trump. They have his overall approval rating now at 39%. And all the polls are just seeing continually shrinking numbers in terms of approval, trustworthiness, temperament. He's lost an average of 23 points since Inauguration Day. How low will he go?
Okay, well, for the record, it is August the 4th at 2:23 right now. And right before Harmon and I did this, we did what all of us did. We picked up our
devices
phone and we looked at the latest numbers. And those are the numbers we gave you. And if probably you'll be listening to this on Monday or Tuesday.
By then it may have changed.
And it's going to be lower. And I think that is what we ought to emphasize, okay? If you are a politician, every time you make a decision, you upset somebody. By definition, when you make a decision, that means some people are for it and some people are against it.
Right.
Even Solomon, when he wanted to cut the baby in half, he got one of the mothers upset, right?
Right.
And the other one wasn't. You always piss someone off. So every politician has a shrinking base. The ones that make it learn to pick up people on the ends from different agendas.
Okay.
And Trump, to my knowledge, at least I haven't been able to appreciate an agenda that he's been able to change, that has picked up people, that has got some liberals, got some Democrats. There are things that he could do, but it doesn't seem like he's emotionally capable of it.
No,
if he came out for Medicare for all, just think how many extra people he'd get.
Well, but he's doubled down on what brought him to the table in the first place. What brought him into the White House. He seems so intent on trying to feed them. I mean, wouldn't they disappear if he said something like Medicaid for all?
A few of his people would, but not all of them. Remember, he ran on the idea of
everyone will be covered. Great plans.
Great plans. Everyone will be covered. Why can't he do that? He can't cut a good deal with the Republicans, and he has cut himself off from the Democrats. So the base probably will continue to shrink. Now, you asked the question that everyone is interested in. What is the bottom line? How low can it really go? If you read Pew and you read the demographics of the United States, I think the best guess is about 20%. In other words, the deplorables.
And what happens then?
Well, at 20%, you're through, right? I mean, if only 1 out of 5 people approve of you, there'll be this, the term people use now is wave election, and you'll lose. That's where we are in California. Mm-hmm. In California, I don't think it's quite 20%, 25, 26%.
Okay.
But so there aren't any functioning Republicans. There are a few Republicans in the legislature, but they don't really function as a great unit. So now you have the far left Democrats and the middle Democrats They are the ones that are in the argument. So 20%, that's what you'll see. And that's where we're going if it doesn't change, and I don't see today that it's going to change. There's, of course, one thing that we all are anticipating, and that is Mr. Trump is going to try and go to war. And if you want to ask who's the likeliest person that we're going to attack tomorrow, it's going to be North Korea, right?
At the moment.
But he's putting in these generals, and those generals aren't going to like that, and I don't know that he can do it. I certainly hope he can't. I wouldn't put it past him. Look, Bush murdered 1 million people to steal oil. The people who run the United States will do anything for money and power. So don't put it past them.
Well, lucky for us, the likely declaration of war will come in a tweet, which will not be heard by the generals. So,
and the generals the last time said that they weren't listening to tweets, right?
Right.
So let's hope that when Trump tweets the war, the generals say no, at which point our final question is, will Trump go to jail?
Well,
we all know that every president of the United States breaks the law every day. The way the law is made, you almost have to.
you want to explain that a little
Well, think
deeper?
about it. Obama was bombing citizens. That's illegal. Eisenhower and Roosevelt was breaking the Geneva Convention. Firebombing Dresden is against the Geneva Convention.
Okay. Well, so
Bush was torturing people, reading their emails,
so if we
and
can
stealing
see, if we can see that every president breaks the law in some fashion, what's going to make Trump different?
My feeling is the difference is Trump has gotten everyone mad at him. Even Nixon stayed within the parameters that had been defined. Nixon refused to pardon himself.
Mm-hmm.
He resigned rather than went through a trial. And he agreed to live by the rule of law.
Mm-hmm.
Trump has almost specifically said he wouldn't, right? He's over and over again said that they'll live within the rule of law.
Even though he ran as the law and order candidate.
Yeah. But, he's
also said the law doesn't apply to him. What does it matter?
He's said it over and over again. The law does not apply to the president. And if you say that often enough and you get enough people mad at you, then when you throw yourself on the mercy of the court, they may not have a lot of mercy. I think that 6 months ago, when Hillary Clinton would have been merciful, I don't think she will be today. He's yelling, lock her up, lock him up. The same thing for the Democrats, the same thing for the far right Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
Trump just told them they were no good.
Well, does it serve him any purpose to be talking Hillary Clinton at this juncture?
I don't see, to his way, what it does is to play the 8th grade game, the
deflection.
The deflection. There's a Latin term for it. In English, it's you too, qui quo. Okay, you also. He hit me first.
Right.
So it's saying, yeah, I did it, but Hillary did it too. So if I go to jail, she should go to jail.
Well, so it buys him some deflection, but it doesn't ultimately help him at all, really.
I think it hurts him because it cuts off one more person who's good at him. But we'll leave you at that because we rather ask questions than give you answers, because I don't know that anyone could give you 100% answers. And I think we'll leave you with something that you can think about over the weekend and next week. And then by then we'll have some more information. Is Trump going to alienate so many people in the United States that he'll really be an unusual president, and he'll be our first president who winds up in jail? Or when he gets out, will they give him a pass? If I have to bet, I'm going to bet for jail for the reasons I gave you. But we all know that it's hard to predict the future.
And as always, we want to know what you think, so please leave your comments at our website, makeitfair.com. You can also do so by finding us on Facebook and Twitter. For the Make It Fair Week in Review, I'm Harmon Dash with Stuart Phillips. Thank you for joining us.